Hello. Today I'm going to teach you how to buy and sell bitcoins anonymously with cash using the website Localbitcoins.com. It's very easy to do, and if you buy and sell with cash, there is no paper trail that can be linked back to you, and Local Bitcoins does not require your any identifiable information from you. Basically, all Local Bitcoins does is link you up with someone local who is selling bitcoins or buying them, and it takes a cut of the bitcoins. I believe it is 1% of the Bitcoin trade goes to the website. So you want to navigate to the website localbitcoins.com, click on the sign up free link, and fill out the form. I've actually already got a account for Cryptoscriptorium, so I just auto-filled this in, and I'm going to log into the site now. So one thing that you may notice is I am not accessing the site through Tor. The reason being that there have Tor exit nodes which have been known to target localbitcoins.com and try to execute man-in-the-middle attacks. It's unlikely that doing so would be successful. However, there is a very real possibility of bitcoins being stolen this way. So rather than risk that, I'm just going to access it through Firefox. Another problem that you do have on the Tor browser is a lot of times the site will be, the particular exit node you're working through will be blocked, and you'll keep getting prompted to input a CAPTCHA. If that happens, the only thing you can do is close Tor and reopen it and try to access the site again. Now, it does, sometimes it'll take 4 or 5 attempts before you can actually access the site correctly. And even then, I've had, in the middle of logging in, Tor just decided to require that CAPTCHA again and not allow me to access the site. And for some reason, it is not up. Okay, let's try that again. Perhaps that was the problem. If both fields are case sensitive. So, there we go. Okay, so I have logged in here and been able to access the site. You'll notice that it actually says my account security is weak. That is because I do not have login guard or two-factor authentication added on there. Both of those things, two-factor authentication especially, are things that I will cover in later videos. Login guard just basically means you can only access it from certain computers. That is very helpful. And two-factor authentication is a one-time use temporary password. We will cover that in great detail later on. Anyway, so once you log into Local Bitcoins, you want to go to the Buy Bitcoins and scroll down. Here you'll see Western Union, Postal Order, MoneyGram, PayPal options for buying bitcoins in the US. Then if you scroll down, you'll see it'll show locally. Right here it's listing for Charlottesville. Let's see what we got. 57 miles. There is somebody selling. And then it's 100 miles after that. So depending on where you are in the US, does very much change how close you actually can get to somebody. If you are in a more isolated area, you may very well have to drive several hours. I would not recommend, doing that sort of drive for less than, several $100s worth, but that's just me. So we're going to go into this Miles Man Bitcoin account. He gives some basic information, when you can contact him, where he wants to meet. And let's see, He has various information, gives his phone number, and then we would just input in here $5 and click the send trade request. Then he would get a notification. In this case, we would probably want to send him a text message, and that is how we would start the trade. After that, we would communicate with him, arrange to meet somewhere, and the Bitcoins would be released into our account after meeting with him. I'm not going to do that, obviously. Just some words of warning. When you conduct a trade, after it's set up, you will be given a, I believe it's a 6-letter code, just random digits, and that code is the code that the seller is given when he releases the Bitcoins. For instance, in one case, yeah, it's just a series of random letters. I'm going to actually type it into my Google search. It is, actually, no, I'm not. God knows what will appear in the autofill. So, anyway, for instance, one is just NASOPHOG 82. All seems to be a series of 6 or 7 letters followed by 2 numbers. You will be given that by the website. After you give the seller your money, you need to ask him to, release the Bitcoins, and he will give you that code. Or you can ask him what the code it shows is. If the code he gives you does not match, he has not really released the Bitcoins. Do not allow somebody to just walk away until you've confirmed that they've released your Bitcoins. That is vital. Now, if you want to sell Bitcoins, you can actually go to the quick sell. Oh, no, you can't. Go to merchant. Let's see how we do this. Merchant. No. I'm going to go to sell Bitcoins. I'm going to see where maybe we don't need to. Okay. Oh, okay, you can actually, if you just go into the sell Bitcoins, you can go in there, find people who are looking to buy, and offer to sell them Bitcoins. Process would work very much the same as buying. You would just you would get a message, you would be given the prompt, you would be given this is what the code will be when you release it, and you would meet them. One important thing to do is make sure you bring your smartphone with you, or some means of accessing local Bitcoins, because I have actually arrived at a meeting destination when I was selling Bitcoins once and forgot my phone. Actually had to walk into Best Buy, surreptitiously log into local Bitcoins on the computer that was on display and release this gentleman's Bitcoins. And immediately after, I changed my password, wiped the laptop's search history, so in the hopes of keeping anyone from finding my account. But that was actually a very embarrassing thing to have happen. So be sure not to put yourself in that situation. The other way to sell Bitcoins is to actually post a trade. You would go to post a trade and you would fill out the form. Floating price is something I generally do not do. Essentially, that hedges the trade while from the time the buyer puts the trade in to the time you actually release it. So the trade price can actually float a little bit, and you can give them more or less Bitcoins depending on what the value does in the time. That's generally not how I like to do it, just because I like to know from the moment I trade with from the moment somebody puts a trade in, how much I'm actually going to be giving them, because I, as a general rule, do not keep Bitcoins in my Localbitcoins wallet. The reason for that being, it takes about 5 to 6 hours for Localbitcoins to let you withdraw anything. And the reason Localbitcoins does that is to prevent people from doing off-site trades. Basically, if you, for instance, if you were to create a trade agreement through Localbitcoins and then arrange to just transfer the Bitcoins from your wallet, you would get around the Localbitcoins 1% fee. So it's understandable why they prevent you from immediately withdrawing money from the wallet, but it is an annoying process. So you go down, you can actually select how large of a profit margin you're going to be operating on. Most people do between 5 and 10%. I personally always sell it for cost. Maybe 1% if I actually need some money. But I also will generally do Bitstamp and the average price of Bitstamp and BTCE. That I was afraid that might not be the format for it. Let that load. But I'll generally average out those two exchanges simply for the sake of fairness, because oftentimes you'll get one that's trading much higher than the other depending on okay, BTC US dollar, that's why. There we go. And there we go. That price averages out a little lower, it looks like, than just the Bitstamp. Let's see, 475, yeah. So $3 lower is the average between the two. So the reason for that being, who knows? When Mt. Gox was still open, that was consistently $20 to $30 more than all other exchanges. You can set how much you want. I generally, personally, don't ever sell for less than $50, just because of the time it takes to arrange to meet a customer and the any amount of driving I have to do, etc., etc., etc. It's not worth it to do for less than 50. I will also generally set a maximum amount a little lower than what I actually have on hand. That way, if the price of Bitcoin changes in the time between when I post the ad and when somebody buys, I will hopefully be able to cover it. The restrict amounts is actually really a very, very clever concept that threw me off the first time I used it. Initially, I thought it was to set the denominations that you would actually trade in. So I put a $50, I think it was 50 to 400 when I did this trade, and I set it to 20 because I wanted to sell in increments of 20. Problem is that this is, in order to sell in increments of 20, what I would have had to do would have been to set it to 60, 80, 100, 120, and so on and so forth to 400. That is what that is for, to specific amounts you're willing to sell. The contact hours, that's self-explanatory. Same with meeting places and any other information. That's usually where sellers will put how to get in touch with them, their average turnaround time, etc. Any phone numbers, I personally don't recommend putting your phone number on local bitcoins. It seems risky. The track liquidity, that is a very helpful checkbox. Say you have $750 worth of bitcoins. If you check that box, if somebody buys 250, the next person will only be able to buy 500. That way, the amount you have decreases as you sell. And then you would say publish advertisement. I forgot to put things. 9 to 5. I'm going to have to delete public places. Generally, like a mall or a parking lot or a restaurant that's public are good places to meet. And then you go in there, up and see 60, 80, 100, 120, etc., etc., etc. And that is how you do it. Then you wait for somebody to do that. Let's see if we can send a trade request to ourselves. I doubt it. Oh, no, you can. So, in that case, you can actually see what you are supposed to actually have on there. So, in there, after you submit the deal, you go in, it tells you this is the code you're going to get after the vendor marks it as complete. We're going to enable escrow. When escrow is enabled, only the buyer or the staff at Localbitcoins can cancel a deal. So very important not to have escrow enabled unless you're certain the deal is going to go down. So, and when you receive notice as buyer, or excuse me, as a seller, you'll receive the notice. It'll take forever to load up, and then it will come up and it will give you the address to send bitcoins to. This is how many bitcoins are expected to send. And once you do that, you go in, you can communicate with the buyer. Meet here. Then you communicate with the buyer until you arrange a time and a place to meet. And from there, after you finish, after you fund this, you would be given the option to release the coins. Release them. As the seller, it gives you that code that the buyer was given, and from there everyone is good. You can leave that, but I'm going to cancel and close this deal because I have no point in buying bitcoins from myself at a 1% fee, because that would be insane. And that is, in a nutshell, how you use Localbitcoins. I believe I may have rambled a little bit here and there, but I hope that this was educational. I do recommend, as I said, buying for cash and selling for cash as well, because it is the most anonymous way to buy bitcoins. If you try to buy with Western Union or PayPal, there is a paper trail that can be traced back to you. If you're not concerned about that, by all means, go for it. PayPal, unfortunately, though, does have a habit of either canceling transfers when they find out it's for bitcoins. So I do not, under any circumstances, suggest you ever sell bitcoins and receive the payment via PayPal. Because if the person on the other end tries to reverse that transaction, PayPal is very likely to trust it. However, now that I say that, I do realize that Braintree, which is part of PayPal, announced a few days ago that they will be accepting Bitcoin, so the winds may be changing for that. But as long as PayPal itself allows payments to be reversed so easily, I would be very, very wary about accepting payment from PayPal or checks or anything other than a non-reversible method of payment like cash or Western Union, money orders, things like that. So hopefully this has been informative for you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, all that. We will be getting into some more of the nitty-gritty stuff about publishing very soon. So you have a great day. Thank you for calling.